So what if the secret to building better habits was hidden in plain sight, maybe in a place you'd never, ever expect? Today, we're diving into a really surprising connection between a modern self-help bestseller and some very old traditions, all through the lens of one fascinating book review. Okay, let's get into it.
It all starts with this one line, right? In a student review of the blockbuster book Atomic Habits, the author, Hadley Parker, makes this really curious observation. The book's advice felt shockingly familiar. But why? Why would a 2018 bestseller on performance science feel so familiar to this one community? Well, that's the puzzle we're going to solve.
And this gets to the absolute heart of what we're exploring today. Is this feeling just a coincidence, or is it pointing to something way deeper about how we as people actually change and grow? Let's find out.
To answer that question, we first need to understand where this unique observation even came from. So let's take a look at the source of this pretty intriguing review. Okay, so the source is a book review written by Hadley Parker, and it was published in the Student Journal at Brigham Young University, or BYU for short. Now, this specific setting is actually the key to unlocking the whole mystery of why Atomic Habits felt so recognizable to the reviewer and their community.
But before we can really see the connection, we need to get on the same page about what Atomic Habits is even all about. So let's do a quick rundown of the book's core idea, just as it's described in the review.
Back in 2018, performance coach James Clear released Atomic Habits, and it just took the world by storm. I mean, it's been on bestseller lists for years now. But what exactly was it that made this book so popular?
Well, the book's core promise is really simple, but it's also incredibly powerful. It's this: tiny, consistent, positive habits, those are the real key to unlocking massive success over time. We're talking both your personal and professional life. It's not about these huge revolutionary changes, but about small, repeatable actions.
And the book lays out this really clear three-step path. First, you learn the psychology behind why you do what you do. Then, you apply a practical, tried-and-true formula for making changes. And the result? Great success. It's a very straightforward system that feels like pretty much anyone can follow it.
Okay, so we've got a super popular self-help book with a simple formula for success. But how does this connect back to that reviewer's feeling of uncanny familiarity? Well, this is where we start connecting the dots.
Which, of course, brings us right back to our central question. A modern performance coach's formula for success, why would that feel so recognizable to a religious community? The answer, it turns out, is pretty fascinating.
And here's the answer, laid out right next to each other. The reviewer sees this direct parallel. The book's focus on small, daily actions, well, that mirrors practices like daily prayer or reading scripture. The idea of incremental improvement over a long time, that lines up perfectly with the concept of a path of discipleship. And the focus on the process, not just the final goal, resonates with focusing on religious ceremonies or ordinances as part of a lifelong commitment.
So here is the huge insight from the review. Atomic Habits isn't necessarily inventing some brand new way to change. Its genius is in taking these powerful, almost timeless principles for changing your behavior and packaging them in a modern, secular, and super accessible way.
So what's the big takeaway here? I mean, this isn't just about one student's interesting analysis of a self-help book. It really points to a much bigger idea about human behavior and these universal principles of change. This parallel strongly suggests that the core principles for building good habits are basically universal. You can find them in a modern bestseller from a performance expert, and you can find them in spiritual traditions that are centuries old. It seems like the framework for lasting change is surprisingly consistent, no matter the culture or the time period.
So, what should you really remember from all this? Well, whether it's secular or religious, the most successful systems for change often share a common structure, and it's built on small, consistent actions. The how of building a better life might just be a universal truth, just showing up in different forms throughout history.
And that leaves us with one final thought. If the principles of Atomic Habits felt familiar to one community, it kind of makes you wonder, right? What powerful, time-tested formulas for change might already be hiding in plain sight in your own life, your own traditions, or your own community? It's definitely something to think about.